Hey everyone, it's Steph from Cheapskate Cook and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm showing you a recipe from my new cookbook, Dinner for $1, Real Food Recipes for Less Than $1 a Serving. We're going to make one of my favorite meals right now. It's called Cajun Beef and Rice. I think there's a variation of this called dirty rice, but I took issue with calling something a name that sounded like I dropped it in the dirt. So, Cajun beef and rice, and that's literally what it is. We've got rice, and we used 1 1/4 cups of dry brown rice, so it makes quite a bit, and then some beef, okay? One of the great things about this recipe is that you can adjust it to your tastes and your needs. So for our family of 5, typically I use just a cup of beef and this good brown rice that really fills people up. Some people are going to want some more meat, so you are welcome to use as much meat as you like. You can also use red beans, so like a can of red beans or kidney beans would be really good in this, and I typically try to just cram as many vegetables as I can get away with. So today we are using onion, celery, peppers, and just some mixed frozen vegetables. There's like peas and corn and green beans, just your typical, nothing special. Sometimes I also use spinach, so it just depends on what we have on hand, what we found on sale. It's really easy. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is make sure that we have our pan warmed up. I like to use, I gotta see if it's hot. I like to use our big cast iron pan for this, but you can use whatever kind of pan that you have on hand, okay? So we've got 2 tablespoons of butter or oil. You're going to go ahead and let that melt down. So I made a video earlier this week where I didn't have a hot plate or anything set up. So it was literally me just sitting here with my pan pretending to cook the food. Everyone who watched that was a really good sport. So now we're going to have to deal with waiting for the food to cook while I'm talking. Alright, so while the butter melts down, one of the keys to working with cast iron is that you want to make sure that the pan is really warm, because that's what's going to help make it non-stick. And the other thing that makes a big difference is butter. I've tried using other kinds of oil. Some people claim that coconut oil works. I've tried it. For us and our needs and our particular food, I don't know what it is, butter is the key to making it non-stick. So we're going to put in some onion first. This is about 1 medium-sized onion. You can use whatever color onion you want. I just happen to have red onion, but typically yellow onion is going to be your cheapest. And then I've got some green peppers. With peppers, because they can be more expensive than other kinds of vegetables, I try to find them on sale and buy a whole lot of them, and then you can just chop them up and freeze them and put them in like Ziploc bags or little containers in your freezer, and then just take them out and dump them into whatever pan or whatever soup or whatever recipe that you're making. It's really easy, really convenient, and it helps save us a lot of money on peppers, because then I'm not, buying them when they're not on sale. I'm only buying them when they're on sale, and I'm only using them when we need them. The next thing you're going to want is the celery. Let that cook down. Another thing that you can add to this to kind of just bulk up and flavor it up is some tomatoes. So if you have tomatoes that are going bad that need to be chopped up and cooked in something, or if you have a can of tomatoes or something, you can throw that in here. The only thing you're going to want to be careful of is, because we cooked the rice separately, the tomatoes are going to have some water in them that you're going to want to make sure cooks out a little bit, or it's going to make your food kind of runny. So you're going to cook this until the onions are translucent. Ours are almost there. I'm going to turn this up a little bit. You're going to want to add some spices. This is Cajun seasoning and garlic powder. You can use fresh garlic if you want, or garlic powder, whatever you have. Cajun seasoning is interesting because if you buy the Cajun seasoning from the store, then it's typically very, very spicy, so you have to be careful. In the recipe in Dinner for $1, I called for 2 teaspoons of Cajun seasoning, and that seems to be the safe amount, okay? But I typically make our own Cajun seasoning because I don't like the extra ingredients that companies put in their Cajun seasoning. So I will make it ourselves, and that way I can adjust it so that it's super flavorful and really tasty, but it's not so spicy that it's gonna melt our face off. So I typically use a lot more Cajun seasoning in this recipe. So just play with the amounts. If you use some Cajun seasoning and it's spicy but it's not quite flavorful enough, then you can add some paprika to it, you can add a little extra salt, some more garlic. Those are all really good ideas. The other thing that I call for in here is thyme. Thyme is it's the herb thyme, okay? Thyme is an herb that I have trouble finding for a really good price. So the cheaper version that is a good substitute is oregano. I typically, when I say add thyme to something, I'm actually using oregano because that's what I keep on hand. So unless it's something that really matters, which if I'm cooking for my family, it doesn't really matter, then that's what I'm using. Alright, so these are all cooked up really well. I'm going to add the frozen veggies, let them cook down a bit. And when you are using like spinach, I like to use frozen spinach because it's already chopped and you can just toss it in here and let it cook down and it's just fine. If you're using fresh spinach, then I highly recommend chopping it. Otherwise you'll get these long strands of gooey green stuff. And I don't know how your family feels about gooey green stuff, but it is not a favorite thing in this house. The other thing that I like to do is if there's a bag of like mixed greens on sale, like they'll have kale and, oh I don't even know, collard greens and beets, like the greens from beets and stuff like that, then I'll use that in here as well. It's pretty interchangeable. Alright, when that's all cooked, you're just gonna add the meat. This is make-ahead beef. So if you want to, if you're using like a full pound of beef or something for this recipe, you can go ahead and just brown the ground beef. You don't have to do that ahead of time or anything. Just brown the ground beef, throw in the onions and the celery and the peppers, all that, and it's fine. I like to use the make-ahead ground beef from my recipe, and from Dinner for $1, and also make-ahead beef is on my website, cheapskatecook.com, because it's a good flavorful base for anything that you're making, and then you can control how much meat you're putting into your dish. So for my family, I typically don't want to use a full pound of meat, so I will, whenever I make ground beef, I'll make it and then I'll bag it, put it in the fridge or the freezer, and then take out the 1 cup portions later on. Alright, so we have beef, veggies, spices, it smells amazing, and now we're going to add the brown rice. Some people would rather use white rice, and that's fine. Use whatever you like, okay? So you can see I didn't use all of the rice. The because I'm just eyeballing it. I'm just looking at if it looks okay. And I'm feeling like this is very ricey and it's got a lot of veggies in it. It's got some meat in there, and that's good enough for us. Then you're gonna add some salt. You're gonna want to use, depending on how salty the Cajun seasoning is, 3/4 teaspoon to 2 teaspoons. It just depends on what you like. And then when it's all done, so you can see why they call it dirty rice, because it looks like you had a bowl of rice and you dropped it on the ground, and now it's got grass and dirt and stuff stuck in it. But it tastes really good. Then you just pile it in. You can serve this in bowls or on plates like I am, whatever works for you. And there you go. That was nice, food falling off the plate. We like to add hot sauce because, again, my Cajun seasoning isn't very spicy. So hot sauce gives it a kick for those of us who like a little more spice, and it keeps it subtle for those who don't. If you want this recipe, you can get it on my cookbook, which is Dinner for $1. You can get it on Amazon. It's only $3 there. It might actually be free still today. We had a promotion that ended yesterday, but it takes a little while for Amazon to catch up to price changes. So it might still be free, so you might be able to run and get it real quick. So that's Dinner for $1. And there are tons of other recipes for cooking frugal, healthy foods on my website, cheapskatecook.com. If you have any questions or you have another recipe from my site or from Dinner for $1 that you want me to demonstrate for you, just let me know. You can leave a comment below, or you can look up the cookbook on my header, or whichever, whether you're looking on Instagram or Facebook. All right, thank you so much, and thank you for coming to my kitchen. I hope you'll come back soon.